Alright, so last night I was driving down the motherfucking road, and I apologize if y'all hear cars in the background, man. Listen, I'm on the side of the highway right now recording this video because I gotta make my money. It is what it is. YouTube don't pay dick. Whatever, right? I got child support to pay. Anyway, so I was listening to the TFM show last night, you know what I'm saying, from 6:13, which should have been Saturday night show. And as I'm sitting here listening to this, I'm standing here going, yo, am I the only libertarian left? Like, because I'm not even really a libertarian. I just want to fucking shrink the size of government. And, like, everybody's coming up with these solutions of fucking invading with the goddamn military and shooting people and, fucking Terminator robots and all this crazy-ass fucking nonsense. When the reality is the solution long-term at the moment, all right, legit, the solution long-term at the moment is to stand here and have the government get out of fucking people's ways. Now, I told y'all on previous videos, which, they don't get super good views, but they get some views. It is what it is, right? That if you look up on Google and you try to find out how many laws there are, right? Just federally, it's between 15,000 and 50,000. They don't know. And locally and fucking in the States, no one has any fucking idea. Right? And I think this is an important fact to understand. When in 2014, there was 14 million human beings arrested. And last year, there was 10,380,000. Now, I'm going to say that it has to do with the fact that the job numbers going up. Right? So what you do is crime goes down when conditions get better for individuals who are standing here on the bottom rungs of your society. Right? So let me show you, what TFM said last night. And then, we're going to react to that, and then we'll get through this. That's kind of where we are.
Let me throw it open to you guys. I decided to actually think about the issue of police brutality. And what could we do to end police brutality? Like actual, and not the bullshit, let's pander to Black Lives Matter and let's legalize crime. But so police brutality is basically what happens when people resist arrest. So people resist arrest and the cops, there's a couple they can choke you, and there's probably a few other options too. The problem is all these options potentially result in death. There are people who have died from get their ass beat. There are people who have died from a taser. There are people who've obviously died from being choked. Here's the problem. Fundamentally, here's the problem. And what is interesting is, as I was thinking about this question, it's literally...
All right, so I'm going to make a couple of arguments here, right? Because I think we're having the wrong conversation as a whole, right? It's not so much about the fact that we need to stand here and stop police from being so brutal, right? Because police being brutal is not a bad thing if it's worth it, right? And that's kind of the issue. So we all agree, everybody, pretty much in the United States will agree that there are things worth being brutal over. For instance, if you legitimately see a dude raping a bitch, like for real raping a bitch, you know what I mean? And like she's bleeding, fucking whatever, like out of her face, you know what I'm saying? Like she fucked up, or like whatever the case might be. If you break that motherfucker apart, like legitimately, nobody's gonna have a problem with you doing so. Like in our litigious society, you're probably gonna end up getting sued. But let's be honest here, that's something worth being brutal over. If someone murders another person in cold blood, right? For instance, a wife kills a husband over, the insurance money, and then, they catch her on a trip sucking the pool boy's cock or whatever the case might be, and they grab her, and she stands there and starts spitting on the cops. If somebody slaps the piss out of that broad, no one's gonna feel bad about it, right? if there's a dude running around just punching people in the fucking face, like random old folks, you know what I mean? People who are like 60, 70 years old, and that's the only people he's hitting, right? And he just sucker punching old people. When the cops catch him, if they rough his ass up some, nobody's gonna feel bad about that, right? And be like, yo, why'd you rough him up so bad? He was hitting like fucking 70-year-olds in the fucking face. He needs his fucking ass kicked. And we'd have no problem with that. But the thing is, though, when you start having those same exact punishments where you're snatching somebody up, throwing them up against the wall, whatever, and I mean, and like, you know, toss them in the fucking car, and like, you know, you're fucking like banging their head off and shit, all this nonsense, because they got caught with, you know, I mean, a gram of coke, or they got caught with, you know what I'm saying, a bag of heroin, or they got caught with, you know, fucking, you know, a counterfeit fucking 20, and I mean, which is, there's a George Floyd thing. If they stood here and they, and I mean, they owe a fucking parking ticket, or they owe child support, you know what I mean, and they've been out of work for a while because their industry got fucking decimated because of some force that was well beyond their capability of stopping, right? These type of things here are the reasons why people are pissed off about police brutality, right? Because it's about using force when it's completely unfucking necessary. And that's the part of it, I think, that we're missing. Legit. That's the part that, like, we're standing here looking at it and, like, everybody's going, oh, man, you know, fucking these cops are so brutal and da-da-da-da. Well, again, it wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't so many stupid fucking laws that they use it for. You know what I mean? Like, if a dude's running because he doesn't want to go to jail because he can't afford to pay a fucking ticket, or he can't afford to do whatever, or he has to choose between buying diapers for his fucking kid or standing here paying the government some fucking money, right? And they snatch his fucking license from him and he's out here driving illegally. Or if they're beating the shit out of you, right, because you got caught driving drunk. Yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, this is why police brutality is a fucking problem. Because we're arresting people for too much shit that people shouldn't be arrested for. That's the problem that it comes down to. That's the libertarian mindset in my mental that I go, yo, look, maybe if we didn't have so many fucking police interactions and we didn't need so many police, they would give a fuck more about their job if they arrested less people. If every one of their interactions wasn't literally being a bill collector for the fucking state, or fucking standing here enforcing some social standard that we used to do with the fucking church, and because we killed God, we decided that, you know, we don't want fathers around, now we're gonna do this shit with the fucking government. Maybe that's some shit that we should have a conversation about. Maybe that's something that we should talk about. But I don't think we're gonna have that fucking conversation. You know what I mean? But on the same point, that's where we should be at, right? It's saying like, hey, look, the reasons that this is so wrong is because there's too many police interactions. Because there's too much bullshit. Now, he's gonna get into another part of this, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, we're gonna skip over a bunch of shit because it's a 3-hour fucking show. You know what I mean? I listened like the first hour or so because like he talks about creating no-go zones, and how you do it is, you know, like you stand there and you talk to your fucking neighbors, and that's how you solve the rest of the bullshit. You know what I mean? And let's get into this. Hang on a second.
So not only that, you know, they're complaining about police brutality and all of that. And now when they're having these like community-led police basically, but they're not calling them police, who are actually just like armed like thugs and like minions of the local warlord. They're gonna see how bad. Yeah, they're gonna see how bad police brutality can really get by non-police officers. And then there's no one for them to complain to. It's not like they can, you know, sue the cops or sue these police officers.
What it is they just want to be in charge. Like, I talked to this guy who's all about Black Lives Matter, police brutality, systematic racism. And so let me explain his train of thought. So his argument was, well, America has systematic racism. I'm like, no, it doesn't. You could argue during the Jim Crow era, it had systematic racism. But okay, first, let me back up even further. Let me explain what systematic racism is. So, if some white person calls a black person the N-word, you could point to that person and say that's racist. But the problem is when nobody's being racist to you, you can't really point to any one person. You can't say like my landlord, my boss, my ex-girlfriend is racist. So what people do is they blame the system for being racist. And their rationale when it comes down to it is they're not in charge. Really comes down to that. So one of the arguments for systematic racism was that most politicians are white. And it's like, it's a white majority country, dipshit. Hey, if you go to China, guess what race all the politicians are? You'll never guess.
Gee, I don't know.
You'll never guess what the...
I guess this is no different than complaining, like feminism complaining men are majority in certain areas, the job areas.
Right. So you live in a white majority country. Now, especially when it comes to the Senate. So each state is only allowed 2 senators. No state is majority black. None. Like Mississippi is the closest, and it's still majority white. Every single state is majority white because it's a white country. America's a majority white country. So the fact that there are any black senators is frankly proof that it's not systematic racism. Because if everyone simply voted along racial lines, 100% of all politicians would always be white. Except for like, unless you had like these gerrymandered black districts where everyone is black, they would have a congressman or two. But like when it comes to, there would be no black senators if there was actual systematic racism, because every state is majority white. The fact that there are black senators, even though they're not proportional to the population, and the whole idea of proportionality is retarded. To say like, oh well, there should be more black people. Like, how much is enough? 13% commensurate with the population? They would say no. They want like 50% representation for 13% of the population. That's fucking dumb. And what it ultimately comes down to is basically the only thing that wouldn't be racist is if black people were in charge. And I even asked him about Obama. He said that didn't count because he was mixed. And then I pointed out that all African Americans are between 20 and 30% white. All of them. Like, unless you're an African immigrant, if you're an African American, you're probably at least 20 to 30% white. This has been proven by Ancestry.com and all these DNA tests. So you're mixed. You're at least a quarter-ish mixed. So I guess any black president would be not count. Nope, there'd be no black president that would ever count, because every black person who's descended from slaves in America is... Now, if you're an African immigrant, would that count? If we got homeboy from, I don't know, Kenya or something come in and become president, would that count? Would that be an authentic black president then? Because he's not any percentage of white?
And also, if you're a complete foreigner who just came into the country, what right do you have to getting put in charge of any political power? If you've never being a part of this country.
It would be against the Constitution for an immigrant to run for president anyway. But my point is, though, is basically his whole bitch about systematic racism ultimately boiled down to he's living in a white majority country. He's part of 13% of the population, and he thinks he should be in charge.
Then
he
go
thinks
to
black people, he thinks black people should be running America, and who are only 13% of the population. They should be lording over and ruling over the 60%. For no other reason than just because. And basically, I'm going to call you racist until you just give me power. I'm not going to earn anything. I'm not going to like deserve anything. I'm just going to bitch and moan and commit crimes until you give me all the power and let me rule over you as your king. And it's like, don't hold your breath on that one.
Right. Because if not, I'm going to call you names.
Well, yeah, or bitch or threaten to riot. Now, here's what I don't get about. I understand because we have universal suffrage. I understand because democracy is fucking retarded. But from an actual objective standpoint, so you look at ancient Rome when the plebs would riot against the patricians for more rights. The plebs were like the workers. Like, they were the ones who produced all the shit that Rome needed. So when the plebs revolted, it was kind of a big deal because these were like your productive working class. And so when the workers revolt, or when the, when you have actual like productive citizens revolting, you got to address things, like, because you need each other. You need them And so if they have grievances, you need to address those grievances. If you have criminals and welfare sponges rioting, what fucking incentive do you have to fucking do anything but shoot them? You literally make your country better by getting rid of them. They're not producing shit. They're not working. They're not paying taxes. They're just sucking welfare and committing crimes. They're just costing you money and making everyone's life worse.
Right.
All right. So, TFM has a real fascist streak about him. I love the dude. Get nothing misunderstood. I love the dude to death. You know what I'm saying? And I owe him a lot for what the fuck he's done for me out here. I got a lot of respect for him. But here's legitimately my issue, right? When it comes down to it. And I'm gonna have a conversation with him here, so I'm fucking get him on live stream again. Last time he was on there, I had a buddy of mine came on and he zapped out on him, and it wasn't fucking cool, and I feel fucking terrible about it. You know what I mean? Because I like the dude who, you know what I'm saying? I do. I'm a fucking fan of him. He's a federalist type of dude. He's fucking wicked smart and shit. He's just, he's fucking autist. It is what it is. And I apologize to TFM about that. But anyway, right? So these used to be the productive workers in your country, right? And this is the problem. All these black people and, the poor whites and whoever the fuck else is up here in these hoods in fucking Chicago and Minneapolis and fucking Detroit and fucking Ohio and all the other places in Pennsylvania, Northern Virginia, Maryland, West Virginia, Kentucky, New Jersey, right? All these people used to be the productive part of your society. But the issue is that these people here have had their industry and ability to stand here and do for themselves and be productive members of society destroyed. Because they're not high IQ individuals, right? They're not individuals. There are people straight who legitimately were one generation out of the field, one generation out of chains as far as black people were concerned. And they moved north to take part in the Industrial Revolution, right? And they fucking, they did. And they stood there and they worked and they got jobs and they handled their business. Now, the problem comes into where we are now, where all these individuals no longer have jobs, right? And when the jobs left, they went door to door and they told their fucking women that if you kick the man out of the house, we'll give you more money. And then as soon as the boy turns 18, right? These people live in Section 8 or HUD housing. As soon as a male child turns 18, he has to fucking leave. With little to no real education, no job skills, and no real prospects. And no father really to be found, because if their mom lives in Section 8 or HUD housing or fucking one of these, government subsidized housing places, a male's not allowed to live there or else they have to pay rent. If the woman lives there, it's rent free and electric free and trash free and water free, right? Legit. All that shit's free to them. So I guess what I'm standing here trying to say is that it's not that, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking at it and I'm going, man, listen, there's other solutions. There's libertarian solutions. And the libertarian solution is all these codes that we put into place when things were going really well, right? When, Detroit and Chicago and all these places were booming, big fucking cities and towns. And, we had Motown coming out and it was the best places in the world to live with the highest fucking per capita incomes and shit. And the best growth and some of the best schools in the nation. It's not that anymore, right? That's not the situation anymore. That's not what it is anymore at all. And you can't keep the fucking laws and regulations and codes and shit that you passed during that boom time when it's really fucked up. Right? So all these fucking building permits and fucking, inspection nonsense and fucking business regulations and, having to fucking pull, all this garbage. If you want to start a fucking car lot, you have to put in handicap entrances and give transsexual fucking, hearings to fucking meetings and conferences and shit. And you have to have sexual harassment training for all your employees. And you have to stand here and have EPA fucking, regulations. If you want to start a restaurant, you have to have your local fucking food and drug people come in and inspect it. And all this shit has to fucking happen and you got to fucking pay for it. Instead of you just going, hey, I want to start a business, and you start a fucking business, right? And you start making money and generating revenue for yourself. Like, freedom isn't free. That's kind of the mentality. Like, it's going to be risky. Like, yeah, shit's going to be fucked up. Like, yeah, things are not going to be right in those cities for a little while until they get back up on their feet. But you have to get the fucking government out of the fucking way. This is the problem, right? This is why they're going on systemic racism. Because all they see is black folks. The only white people they see is social workers when they come snatch their fucking kids, right? When you see police come in to serve a fucking child support warrant or a drug warrant or a fucking raid, right? And they go, oh man, the system, all they do is come in and fucking lock us up. They don't give a fuck about us. Of course they feel that way. That's how they're gonna fucking feel. You know what I mean? Like, yo, and they go, well, we was in charge, this wouldn't be the situation. Yeah, it would. It would still be fucked up. You know what I mean? Because then you'd have to run this bitch. And you'd understand there's a way more involved than what the fuck you're talking about. So, I guess what I'm saying is there are libertarian answers to this, right? They're long term. They'll take a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you have to adjust, you know what I'm saying, the education system into something more geared towards entrepreneurship. You know, you have to get rid of, like, you know, the mentality that you have to have fucking like all these stupid social fucking nonsense garbage fucking learning things that they put in the fucking school, right? You have to eliminate social studies and eliminate, you know, fucking, you know, literature and all this dumb shit that you're not gonna fucking need, right? You need to put it directly towards engineering, math, science, and technology. Like, that's what it needs to be, you know, like, period. You know what I mean? You need to stand here and put this towards, hey, look, this is how you fucking stand here and, you know, balance a checkbook. This is how you apply for a loan. This is how you go through all this. These are things that we should be teaching these motherfuckers so that they can come up themselves, right? And we need to, like, legit, we need to get rid of fucking child support. Like, fuck. We need to get rid of child support. We need to get rid of no-fault divorce. Y'all know the situation already, man. You know what I mean? Like, real talk. And the thought pattern that we need to get rid of the fucking police is a yes answer. Of course, we need to get rid of the fucking police. You know, we need to get rid of a lot of the police. You know, like, we need to stop taking away people's driver's licenses. We need to stop having driver's licenses. Again, go back to pre-industrial fucking law. Like, real shit. Because these are pre-industrial fucking cities at this point. These are third world shitholes. You need to go the whole way through the shit again. You know what I mean? From agriculture to the industry to, you know what I mean, up to the service sector. You need to rebuild the whole thing from the ground up, redo the whole structure. And you're not going to be able to do it if you think that you're living in a first world fucking country and it's just going to get done. Because, like, you have to go through the process of building the infrastructure for this shit. And lay the groundwork and the brickwork and the foundation for everything when it comes down to it. And this is what needs to be said, and this is what needs to be done. And this is how, as libertarians, as, you know, individuals who are anti-government, need to look at it. Like, yo, the cops shouldn't be there to keep black people out of your fucking neighborhoods. They're not your goddamn they're not your fucking security guards. Legit. You need to fucking stand up and be a fucking man.
You spend time with your family? Sure I do. Good. Because a man that doesn't spend time with his family can never be a new man.
Like, real shit. You need to stand up and be a fucking man and do what you're supposed to do. Walk up and say, hi, how you doing? Tom Peach, you new to the neighborhood? Welcome. You know what I'm saying? Yo, we'd like to meet everybody around here. That way, you know, fucking, you know, no ain't nobody fucking out here casing the joint. Like, I understand, you know, we really don't want, you know what I'm saying, motherfuckers to feel some sort of kind of way. We want individuals to feel like this is a community and that we all together. And if somebody comes and tries to, you know what I mean, do some crazy shit in here, fucking we all together. Everybody looks out for everybody else. And that's love, and that's how you build things. That's how you build communities. But first things first, you have to be a fucking man.
You can act like a man! Like an amateur!
It's that simple. Anyway, man, I'm Tom Pease of Pnoid News. You know the situation. Peace be like one, motherfuckers. Later.